So welcome to the University of Southern Indiana and the Center for Communal Studies. My name is Silvia Rode and I will be your host. I'm delighted to introduce Professor Beverly Seckinger. She served as director, or she's professor at and teaches at the University of Arizona School of Theater, Film, and Television. She has served as director of the School of Media Arts, on the executive committee of the Human Rights Practice Graduate Program. She's a founding member of the LGBT Studies, and she directs the annual Lesbian Looks film series. Her documentary on hippie family values has received numerous mentions, and she was awarded the Santa Fe Film Award for her work. So welcome, Dr. Seckinger. I also want to thank Kate, a member of the ranch, who was gracious to record a message for us to be reviewed on the Communal Studies website /lecture series. Thank you, Kate, for your recording and for sharing your thoughts with us. I'm also grateful to my colleague, Mr. Jim Hunter, USI English instructor and film critic. Last Tuesday, Jim facilitated a film preview on Evansville WETH TV station, and he will co-moderate today's Q&A session. In addition, I want to express my gratitude to Ms. Carolyn Sulu for her marketing and technical help. Last but not least, thanks to my fellow board members of the Center for Communal Studies and the College of Liberal Arts and the USI Foundation for their continued support. So now I leave it up to Carolyn to give us some information about the logistics.
So we're going to do, we're not going to show the film in the Zoom. We're going to provide a link and a password so you can watch it separately. That will be provided for you in the chat when you're ready. And then we're all going to reconvene back here. We will leave the Zoom running so you can reconvene when the video or when the film is over, and we can do the Q&A session.
So Carolyn, we should go to the chat now and click on that link, correct?
Can I say a quick word?
Sure.
Yeah, so thank you everybody for coming. Wow, 49 people now. Thank you to the center for organizing and promoting this, and or Dr. Hunter for also helping to promote it. I just wanted to note one of the people featured in the film who submitted to my camera for years and years, Dulcie will be here to join us for Q&A afterwards. So, you know, stay tuned. Anyway, thanks for coming.
Please begin typing your questions below. We'll start with Jennifer. So not so much a question as a comment. The circle of life told through the story was a reminder of how precious life and the people in our lives are. How many people are currently at the ranch? I think that's a question probably for you, Bev. Although Dulcie, I think you could probably jump in on that as well.
Dulcie, you want to take that? I was wishing, yeah, Kate talked a little bit about that in her recorded message. It's on you guys' website now.
Yes, I believe so. Under the if you search for under the Center for Communal Studies, you should be able to see that. But about how many people are on the ranch, Dulcie? Do you know?
Well, we've lost a few people recently. The flute player on the bench, David Nelson, passed away just about a month ago, and our friend Susanna, who's featured prominently in the movie, passed away just a couple of years ago. So currently I think we're at 20, around 20 probably.
Cool.
Yeah.
So we've got another question from Tegan. If I mispronounce names, I'm very, very sorry. But how is connections made while filming the documentary? Do you still keep in touch with some people from the documentary today?
Oh, oopsie, answer live. I clicked on the wrong thing.
Oh, I got that. Yeah, I'll take care.
Having taught on Zoom the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So as I, long-windedly mentioned on the local TV spot the other morning, in addition to teaching film, I've played in a band for over 20 years called the Wayback Machine here in Tucson. And the core audience is, essentially this culture, the greater hippie diaspora of Southern Arizona and New Mexico. And early on, a couple years into the band, we went to the ranch for a gig, and I was completely enchanted by the whole scene. And within, I don't know, maybe within a year, I had come back, sans band, just to meet people and get to know more in a more relaxed setting than, a big party. And I got permission to film the 30th anniversary, which was, I think it was like a year or two after the first time I had been there, which was a great opportunity to learn a lot about the community and to just, get entree and trust and start hanging out and filming more. And then just, certain people were more interested in being part of it. And you can see the people that ended up being the main characters, people in the film are very reflective and articulate about the bigger issues without needing to be prompted, or, they're not people of a word or two. They're, really thoughtful, charismatic, interesting people, one of whom is here. So it went on like that. We went, we played that same gig every summer for about 10 years. I never succeeded in filming it very well because it's really hard to play the bass and film at the same time. I learned that over and over. But we pieced together a Hot Fest sequence from odds and ends. But that began as the sort of organizing principle of the film, but then it ultimately dropped away, and it was just kind of the way that I found myself there. So Dulcie, you want to talk about that a little bit? Kind of how you got involved?
Yeah, we were quite skeptical of Beverly and that and found the filming kind of annoying, and then she just kept coming back, and we got to know her and love her, and we're very grateful for this document now and for her having documented us in our community. So yeah, it definitely was a relationship that grew over a period of time.
And you said about 10 years. Was it just
Well,
in
that was
terms
the
of kind of the gig was okay?
But I mean, and then there was like the final filming was, I think, when Bjorn was dying, and like that sequence of him and JB in the hot bath, I believe was oh no, it wasn't that, because then there was after that, right? There was you and JB connecting after, at Bjorn's memorial, and JB and his daughter visiting the gravesite. So that was probably the last, and that happened in the midst of editing. But yeah, a long time.
Yeah. So just a question about production. Was it just you and a camera, or did you have a more extensive crew with sound, or
it was
kind of talk a little bit about that production, if you don't mind?
Yeah, it was me, myself, and I with a portable unfortunately, I didn't start shooting HD, and it was just kind of not long. Like when I started filming, it was not a couple years later. Everybody was filming on HD, but I had already begun filming in the format that happened just before HD, and so I just stuck to it because I wanted to be able to cut among all the different time frames. And the standard definition frame is a little more like this, and the HD frame is more like that, and so it would look really weird to keep doing that. But yeah, me with a shotgun mic on top of the camera for those filmically inclined, and sometimes a wireless lavalier. But the wireless lavalier didn't sound very good, so almost all of it was filmed just with a shotgun mic on top of my camera, very intimately, right? And sometimes I enlisted help, like Dulcie, who is a filmmaker too, and so a surprising number of ranch kids have some involvement with arts or media making. I enlisted somebody's 12-year-old one time to help filming a Hot Fest. But yeah, that was kind of my it's the same process I used on the previous film, which only took 5 years, which at the time seemed like an eternity. Laramie Inside Out, about another community story, really, but in this case, Laramie, Wyoming, where Matthew Shepard was murdered in 1998, which anyone over a certain age will remember, and my hometown. So
Cool.
That too, that was just, me and the previous generation little camera with the shotgun mic.
I could ask production questions all day. Sort of very interested in that film process. But we get some more questions from the Q&A. Has technology such as the internet and cell phones changed life on the ranch, or how has technology such as internet and cell phones maybe changed life on the ranch?
I defer to Dulcie first.
Interesting question. We have been doing meetings via Zoom during the pandemic. So that was kind of a leap and probably helped include people from the outside who haven't been who don't live there, who've been able to take part. So that's been kind of interesting to get other input. And otherwise, I mean, we've had some struggles with the idea of Wi-Fi and having, did we want to have internet access everywhere, because it is such a amazing opportunity to be unplugged, and so we've had some differing opinions and ideas about that, and it's still pretty low technology in general.
From my point of view, when I first started going there, there was no Wi-Fi, and it was a total unplugging escape. No, you cannot reach me for however long I'm there. And then it was a mixed blessing, kind of like, oh, good, I can still work on everything else while I'm here, for better and worse. Do I see Charris running around the background there?
Yeah, Charris, you want to come say hi?
Pop in.
Here we have.
So now we got a special guest, Charris.
My dirty eye. How's it going?
There's Charris.
So they're not at the ranch, by the way. They're in Colorado now.
We're in Colorado. Yeah, we manage a ranch as our day job. And
yeah, similar kind of. We still have an outhouse.
that's true. Yeah.
We take care of somebody else's animals and gardens.
Yeah, we get paid to do what we were doing more unpaid in the communal back to land environment of the Hot Springs Ranch. But we manage 1,000 acres, and we have alpacas and chickens and ducks and cattle and many buildings to maintain. So in a way, it's kind of similar to being
minus the people.
Yeah,
minus the hot baths.
the community is what we really miss.
Yeah.
But you've been still doing, Dulcie, well, all of you doing some film, creative work too, right?
Yep, some creative work. We've done a production on a couple of productions up here on the ranch, and that's kind of a fun side gig. And still doing Charris is still doing some environmental work on the side, and always trying to push things forward on activism regarding the environment.
Yeah.
So tell us what. So I got one more question myself. Now I'm questioning.
Yeah, please. No,
So Cassius, the little boy who introduces us to the outhouse, is now in college.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is he studying?
He will study anthropology. He's actually on a gap year, and he's going to Warren Wilson, which is a very lovely kind of ag hippie school in North Carolina. And
I'm gonna pull this picture down.
oh, Charles is going to show you his picture.
This is something that a friend of ours made for Cassius. I don't know if you can see it without glare, but it's a collage of him over the years.
So he's he's going to study anthropology, and he's very excited about it. And he's just he actually went to South America on his gap year,
Following in Bella's footsteps, huh?
yeah, worked on his Spanish skills and had a great experience. Yeah.
Excellent. All right,
And
I'll let
Phoenix is 15 and in high school, and very creative, artistic type.
When does he get home from school? Not soon enough for this Q&A.
I gotta go. Soon.
All right, more questions for Dulcie while we have.
Yeah. So we got more questions. I guess for Dulcie, this is from Eric Braysmith, who teaches the film class here at USI. He says, we follow a generation and idea close to its end, but the world outside seems to keep encroaching. You got video animation versus pottery. And where do you, Dulcie, see the ranch in like 10 or 20 years, especially with that impulse to look more outside the ranch?
It's a very good question, and we're definitely in a transition where it's hard to see kind of how things are going to go. We have not really successfully attracted a next generation, I would say, partly because of the change of economy or culture that has kind of had people focus more on work. And I think in some ways it's good we had these really bright kids come off this commune and then go into really interesting fields and need to live in other places because of that for work reasons. So it remains to be seen. I sometimes have had kind of a fantasy of moving more towards like a economic model that's a retreat center, kind of how to build an income, a place-based income more that might be able to support more people living there. But yeah, we're very much in we'll see how this transition is going to go. I like to really focus on that this model supports people to make different economic decisions. It can create a really cheap place to live for people who are interested in doing arts or healing or other kinds of modalities, but remains to be seen.
And that Wi-Fi access allows, remote work to like a whole range of things that wasn't available before. But
so this is a question from Rush Slocum, who writes, did the ranch ever have any problems with the system, rules, or regulations in American living that sort of, and that sort of lifestyle over the years? So I guess kind of a question about sort of the interaction between the ranch and sort of outside world. I don't know if that's a question. That seems for both of you can kind of jump in on that if you'd like.
I would say not really. Luckily, we have managed to stay clear of issues with the authorities. I can't think of any, and nothing major. And we try to have good relations with our county and everything. And we are in a very rural area, so that might help make the difference. But so far, so good.
And people are involved in the nearby greater area with the farmers market and communal gardens and things like that, and also in the nearby town as teachers and different jobs.
Jacqueline asked, does the ranch have any connections with or communicate with other contemporary communes?
We do have a few members that are also members of Llama, which is up near Taos, New Mexico, so that we have a couple overlapping people. And I think a couple of people have gone to do some kind of communal education conference stuff there at Llama. And then we had some members from Libre and the Red Dog Ranch, which is in southern Colorado. That's about all the overlap I can think of. Yeah.
Cool.
Did anyone from
go ahead, Bev.
I just wonder, so a colleague help spread the word about this screening to a listserv that includes a lot of people who live in community, and there was some chance that one or more people from the farm might attend. Is anybody here from the farm?
If so, please
make yourself known in the chat.
Type either in the chat or probably in the Q&A if you're from the farm. Yeah, but and also if there's any other questions in the chat or in the Q&A, please feel free to ask your question. In the meantime, while perhaps our farm audience is is typing or any other questions are coming through. I've got a couple of my own, if you don't mind. I guess the first one's for Bev, and for me, like one of the most interesting and kind of surprising aspects of the film is the one that's sort of best expressed by Dulcie, where about how it's hard to rebel when your parents are like the ultimate rebellion, the ultimate rebels. And I mean, that's a theme that you get quite a bit of attention to in the midpoint of the film. And I was wondering if that parent dynamic or parent-child dynamic, in terms of like who's the real rebel, or how do you rebel as a teenager when your parents have already like moved to a commune? Was that surprising to you as well, or what were some of the other surprises that came up as you were working on the movie?
Well, it is interesting, all the range of things that the former ranch kids, now ranch grown-ups, are doing. I don't know how to speak to that issue as well as Dulcie as the lead girl, as Kate called her, could, I guess. The rebellion issue. What was it of interest to me the whole time, that was the multi-generational, intergenerational relations, and as the being in the band, playing for the Hot Fest thing, like looking out there and seeing 3 generations dancing with each other. And it's not a parody, it's for real. And it's not, like the father-daughter dance at the wedding or something. It's, very organic and heartfelt, and, across the generations hanging out together in a non-hierarchical way, was very impressive to me and appealing. Cool. And at the same time, the thinking of the issues of different stages of life, and what's following that transition from the young, energetic, and idealistic to the middle stages of life, where you have, you're taking care of people on the younger end and on the older end, and then, becoming that elder, etc. Just thinking about that stuff that everybody can relate to, but through this lens, I guess, was also a huge focus for me.
And Dulcie, for you, what is it like to sort of watch this film that has so much of a reflection of your life? I mean, you've got the movie that you made as a young girl, and now it's sort of followed you throughout all this time. Like, what is it to sort of re-experience that and watch that film for you?
It's very sweet. I mean, I really appreciate it because it's a movie that I would have liked to have made, and I appreciate that Beverly threw herself at it and did such a great job. And I mean, I just find it very beautiful and moving, and that it really does capture that the movement of time and grappling, these people who thought they would be forever young, grappling with aging and aging parents, and kind of all these normalizing realities. Yeah, I mean, I love it. I think it's very beautiful. I love to see my mom and my kids, and yeah, and it brings up, I have a real commitment to the ranch, and to, I feel like maybe in the framing of the rebellion idea that I think as hippie kids, we were very careful not necessarily to fall into all the hippie stereotypes that we saw, or pitfalls, but that the urge to really create a real culture, a real lasting, real cultural phenomenon that had real tradition behind it. And so to me, I feel very committed to the ranch in that way, which is to continue this tradition of different ways of living and different ways of sharing. And so it feels inspirational for me, and also, the mystery of, there's a lot of work to be done, I think, to keep this vision going, and to find the right people to hold the space. And yeah, so it's big, lots of stuff.
Thank you. We got another question from the chat, or from the Q&A, I should say. And this is for Bev. The person writes, the film is complete, but does it feel complete to you?
Well, as a person who filmed over all those years, it's kind of, I mean, any documentary filmmaker maybe would tell you that, you know, it's only done when there's a deadline, kind of. Like there's always, oh, Carlin, hi.
Yeah, it's Scarlett. Yeah,
from high school.
First, the username was just a number. So anyway, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Where was I? Oh, you know, it's kind of only finished when there's a deadline, and life keeps rolling on, right? All these storylines keep rolling on, and Steve, who I wish could be with us for the Q&A, but I couldn't figure out how to make it happen logistically. He actually lives in Tucson now since Sue passed away. And last weekend I brought him a couple of hours of Sue outtakes to so we could, you know, spend some time with Sue. And it's you know, it's very meaningful to just have the raw footage, I think, for the families and the, you know, the next generation and then one after that, to see, you know, who their parents or grandparents or whatever were. And that's Bjorn, for example, specifically asked me to film him and asked me to interview him so that he could share his life experience with his grandkids, because he knew he was dying. So that's the ancillary part. Does it feel done? Yeah, I mean, I would love to be filming a whole other epilogue about what's going on with Steve's care in the wake of Sue's loss, because it's hippie family values on steroids over there. A little bit of paid caregiving and a lot of, I mean, paid people you didn't know before caregiving, and a lot of super extended family and friend group from over the decades. And there's a whole other storyline there. Look at all these familiar people in the chat.
Yeah.
And for Dulcie, you better grab her before she gets.
Yeah, Dulcie, I guess this is, I know you have to get going soon, but this was just a question from, I believe, Jana. Can you tell us about your work on environmental activism? You mentioned that a little bit earlier. Can you expand upon that a bit?
Yeah, Charris and I have done various, Charris was an early user of biodiesel and got the bus in Telluride on biodiesel. And then kind of as biodiesel kind of showed itself to then kind of be taken over by corporate soy industry, we have, I mean, I think now mostly we're trying to focus on climate change and how to, you know, what strategies to really help activate people, and particularly trying to use kind of high profile people to get the message out and to figure out how to, we've been talking with Bill McKibben about he's working on a campaign called Third Act, where he's using, he's trying to activate baby boomers to get rid of their petroleum, you know, investments, divesting, as he kind of brought the college group to divestment, and now he's trying to bring baby boomers to divestment. So yeah, all kinds of things, and while raising a family and while working, and but I think, you know, climate change is now feels like the only most important thing that we're going to have to live with. You know, we can argue about almost everything else, but climate change is what we're going to have to live with, and our grandkids will have to live with. So that's the main focus.
Absolutely. There's a comment from Mark, and this is, hi Bev, I'm glad I finally had the chance to see your film. Since I was a teenager, I've had an interest in living in this sort of community, but I never did. It touched me very deeply to watch this. Mark Braun, U of A, BFA, late 90s.
Thank you.
Yeah, really nice comment there. Thank you, Mark. And then Pam asked, this is a logistical question, and you might be able to answer it, Bev. Oh, sorry, did I interrupt you? I apologize.
No.
Okay. This is a logistical question. Will we be able to view this video again using the link and password? Thank you, Beverly and Dulcie. That's from Pam. I think could you answer that question, Bev?
You know, I will keep this password for a few days for folks who are here to share if you want, but then I'll probably change it.
Sure. There's also
the film is
Can-
available for educational institutions through New Day Films. So if you're a teacher or faculty member and you think you might want to use it in a class, you can go to New Day, just newday.com. And there's all different options, streaming options and DVD and so on. Or if you're a regular person and you might happen to prefer a DVD because your Wi-Fi is sketchy or whatever, because you live in a community in the middle of nowhere, you can contact me through the hippiefamilyvalues.com about a DVD. So anyway, those are some other options, but I'll leave this this link and password happening for the next few days.
There's also Canopy, which I think is available through many libraries as well, which
Yes.
According to justwatch.com, which is where I as a film critic go all the time for streaming releases. That's available. I think that's where I first saw it, actually.
Yeah, Canopy also streams all of the New Day Films collection to university libraries and public libraries now too.
So yeah, unless there's unless there's any other questions in the Q&A, I guess we'll sort of thank both of our guests. Bev, thank you so much for sharing your movie with us. Dulcie, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day to answer questions. And we know you have to run for childcare, but thank you so much for answering our questions and for being part of this film, for like sharing your life with
yes,
us.
thank you for that.
Very much appreciated.
Yeah, thank you guys. It was really a pleasure to see it again. Thanks, Beverly.
I want to thank the center. It's an honor to have the film screened by the center, founded by Professor Don Pitzer, the eternal, who also founded the Communal Studies Association, where I had one of my most delightful, wonderful screenings because everybody was very conversant with the issues and very interested and had lots of ideas. And I'm glad this has finally happened. We had talked about it a couple of years ago.
So Beth, thank you, Dulcie, Jim, Carolyn, for helping and making this possible. And I also would like to invite everybody to go to the website and see what other events are scheduled for the rest of the year. Thank you.
And thank you, Carolyn, for organizing too. I appreciate it. Sylvia, of course, and Jim, thank you.
My pleasure.
Bye.
I'll go ahead and put the link for the Center for Communal Studies there in the chat there. So cool. So yeah, with the link in the chat, please come visit our website. And thank you again, Sylvia, for including me in this.
Sure. Bye.
All right, thanks so much.